Okay, so we're just having a bit of a look at a Kenwood TS450, and see, it's got a mic that looks like it's brand new. It's crazy. Haven't seen a mic like this with a radio for a long time. It's just the curly cord is sort of so taut, and it's like it's come out of the box. But anyway, that does happen, I suppose. All right, we're just putting a signal into it. I'm using the Motorola today. What are we putting in? Putting in about 1.47. So let's go back down to about 0.5 in microvolt. We should be still hearing that. Yep. No, that's good. That's no problems. And let's just see if it's got a little bit of power coming out of it. Let's turn that nasty generator off there, and we should see some watts coming out of it. Harley, can't whistle for my life. To get a bit of an accurate power, because this is not PEP on this monitor, let's just go 100 watts. 100 watts of FM there, no problems. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, let's just have a little listen to that. See what the audio sounds like on it. 1, 2, 1, 2. What am I on at the moment? I was on AM. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that's good. Just check the squelch is working, of course. Yep. Squelch works perfectly. Back to sideband. And if we put the processor on, we'll probably drive that a little bit harder again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Yeah, don't worry about my meter on sideband being a little bit lower, not being PP. I should have done this over here with the IFR, to be honest. I get a much more accurate PP reading. But yeah, look, these were not a bad radio in their time, because they had their auto ATU in them. So basically, you just hit the button there. Hold it for a second, sorry. And what am I doing wrong here? Auto, hit the button there. Okay, hang on 2 ticks, doing something silly. Okay, now to continue my video. So I would say, just so you can see, there we go, tuning nicely, but wasn't as simple as you would think. So I had to do a little bit of fault finding, and don't mind showing you. So what someone's attempted to do at some stage, I went back through, backtracked the wiring, and had a look and thought, all right, well, what's going on here? Everything's good here. This is where the interface wiring comes through, etc. Measured a couple of signals with the Crow and thought, okay, something's not getting its information. And here it is here, this little W5 down here. See how we've cut that? So what's happened is, somebody hasn't read the manual at some stage. They've fitted the tuner, and I would say this 450 came without a tuner at some stage. They've gone and bought the tuner, which is not a cheap item, but they've never got it to work. And the simple reason they never got it to work was they didn't cut this little fella down here. These two here basically fit in, and this little fella here is the only other connection apart from the ribbon cable that goes through. So how's that for a bit of an interesting one? I must admit, I thought it might have been a menu item or something like that, but no, I was hoping that it was a menu item, because it was going to be a lot easier. So it's taken me, this video's taken a little bit longer to do than I was thinking. Anyway, let me put some screws back in it, and what an interesting observation. Had I not tested this, this would have went out to a client, and he would have rung me and said, what's going on with this antenna tuner? So I'm glad we sort of do have a look at these things, because this one will go up for sale. But yeah, so I would say that's brand new. I think we just gave it its first go. So amazing. It looks pretty new too, actually, and it's yes. So you never know what the stories are of some of these things. But anyway, let's put some covers back on. Okay, now we've got all the screws back in it. Let's see if it embarrasses me and doesn't work. Let's have a look. Good, excellent. Should work, not work like so. Put the auto button on for auto tune. Beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take it up anywhere around here. Same thing. Yep, the little slight tune there. It's on a dummy load at the moment, so hence it's not having to work very hard, is it, really? I just want to check that it's working on all bands. Beautiful. Yep, good. I like it when it stops to think about it for a second. Nothing wrong with that. There we go. Yep. We saw it went from 10 megs to 7 megs, and actually AIP doesn't need to be on there. Yes, it did actually do a tune then, so that's cool. And tune on, yep, there we go, 80 meters and 160. I'll explain something in a minute. Oh no, sorry, 80 tuner only works from 80. Sorry, yep, of course, 80 through to doesn't work on 160. That I I do remember. All right, now interesting too when you're going through the bands. I've actually just set it now so it remembers that AIP is not on. When you default one of these radios from 10 megs down, it will go auto AIP and remember it. See how it's remembering when it's, now what these are noisier bands where Kenwood thought it was a good idea to have their advanced intercept point on. I don't know about that. I don't know. Some people like it, some don't, depending on, like, as a country person with very little noise, I don't need to use functions like that, but if you lived in the city, maybe. I suppose the lesson on this radio, I wasn't actually looking to do a workshop lesson on this one, but it's probably wise to have a look at the thinking of what happens when you get a fault. And clearly, in my video, all of a sudden, I'm going, auto tune doesn't work. So, I stopped the video because anything less than that would be embarrassing, because you want to find out why. Now, I'm going to be honest, I probably spent 20 minutes in my head as I was pulling the covers going, oh, what the hell's going on? Is the auto tuner given up or something, but the fact is this radio came from Queensland, and I've got to be honest, there was a few nightmare radios in that lot. It was I lost a lot of money, over $3,000 on that deal. And I was thinking to myself, I bet you this will be another one. This is just going to be another one. Well, the story turned out to be a little different with this one, in the fact that the radio was in the hands of somebody, I would say, who didn't know what they were doing, because anybody that has the intelligence to pull the covers off, put 3 screws in, and to mount the tuner, mount the 2 RF cables and the wire dual inline connector, and basically a single inline, that one was, and also then put the ribbon cable in. Should have read the book and said, well, the W link connector, how does this thing know? How does this know really that it's got a tuner in it? And you might say, oh, well, it's got the auto and the through, but no, that's not quite how it works. It still needs to be, it has to have a designator. Now, in ICOM and different other radios, sometimes they're menu designators, etc. In Kenwood, they're hard resets, so basically you're snipping something. So if you want to all ban this radio, you're snipping something. If you want to, a lot of things, you're generally snipping something. And I've done a lot of Kenwoods over the years. Look, I'm no Kenwood expert, because we were ICOM dealers and ICOM service agents, but we saw a lot of Kenwoods come through, and especially this year, this was something that I can tell you straight away what the 3 major faults of a TS450 or a 690, which is the same radio with 6 meters, is straight off. It's C104 on the audio. Look, I could go into and most of these radios have upgraded. They had a 10 volt cap in there, which what you did is you replaced it with a 25 volt cap. Lasts forever, but takes up a bit more room, doesn't look as nice, but lasts forever. Anyway, so 450. Why do I like the 450s? Well, the receiver, the transmitters on half these radios we ever test, there's not really much in it. They're all good. I'm not going to tell you that ones, people have gone on about the ability for Kenwoods to be modded for wide audio and that, and I like ESSB, etc. But let's face it, that's 3% of operators out there. Generally, most people just want to be heard and have some sort of tone that people understand and they're happy with, etc. So this is really one of those radios, though, that, as we were testing before, gets into the noise as far as you can really make these things, percolate receiver-wise. They will hear, if it's out there, it'll be heard by this. They're actually a real receiver. I'm not going to go anti-SDR on this. It's not the point of the video, but some of this old super het stuff and really is good. And the Kenwood range of receivers, look, I've got R5000s as well, same sort of design receivers, and they're fantastic. It's whether it's the transceiver or the receiver, you're buying something very nice. A few of the features that you know, you can obviously add extra filters to these here. You know, there's various filters that you can buy for the sideband CW depending on what your you know, sort of what you enjoy. Some of the functions here are interesting. You actually could have a, hang on, sorry, I just got a dB meter here, where basically you could actually measure in dB. So if I was putting a signal into this, which we can very easily do if I just quickly put it at, that'll be my business saying T's ready. That's all right, we'll get there. Right, so let's put a signal in. Okay, so there we go. So have a look at that. See, so we're looking at about minus, what's that, about minus 15 or something dBm. Now, obviously, it's only so accurate, but although that's not too far off. Yeah, that's all right. But I got to be honest with you, it's a meter. Let's get rid of that. It's a meter you'll rarely use. So the RX meter, turn it off. The TX meter here, interesting because you can have ALC obviously here, SWR that's able to be monitored as well, and which, you know, it's handy with the antenna tuner function because as you're tuning, you can actually see that SWR doing what it needs to do. Now, if you're on power output, which we are right now, so just to drop a carrier, you know, we've got power output there, no problems. Squelch that. That's fine because when you do the antenna tune, obviously it's going to quickly show you the SWR anyway. So, you know, it's really not a problem. It does flick over to that. Otherwise, there's no issue there. What else? Oh, look, most of these functions are, you know, defined, just, you know, fast and slow and that sort of stuff, etc. Tone board, this hasn't got a tone board in it, so just be aware. Not something you use a lot on HF anyway. There were a few options available for these. Also, you could hook up the DSP 100 units to these. Now, that was an interesting mod for these. Well, not a mod, accessory. More than interesting. If you can find a DSP 100, we've actually got one on another radio, but you don't even want to know. They cost more than the radio, and so that's a serious point too. They really do. Apart from that, you know, you've got all your menus, memory functions. Now, I haven't put any memories in this because I've actually cleared this. Yeah, I have completely. So you're not going to see too much there. But 99 from memory, 99 or 104. I always forget. But plenty of memories, that's for sure. Split function, if you want to set up A and B, especially for 29 megs FM, very handy, very, very handy, and certainly worth, you know, sort of having a play with. Notch, etc., etc. Two-stage noise blanker, and the processor on these actually do, you know, they're pretty grunty, so certainly work pretty well. All right, well, that was an interesting video on the fact that it went somewhere I didn't expect it to, but we got the antenna tuner to work. So, never seen one before in my life where someone's fitted the tuner and not been able to work it out and decided, you know, that it's all too hard. Just going to come. I think they just thought I'll come back to this later, and never got around to it. Anyway, there you go. Just remember, it's not always in the menu. You know, always check the simple stuff first. And you know, my first procedure was just pull the covers. Only because there's certain things I'd want to check. I looked at, to be honest with you, I actually couldn't hear it clicking at all on the auto through, and I thought, oh, okay. You know, sometimes that can be a ribbon cable. The microprocessor circuit comes through, talks to the antenna tuner, and says, right, you know, turn on and off. But when I got the covers off, no, I could sort of hear something, but I thought, oh, am I hearing this switch here? Anyway, so then really, you know, the trick is to go through and say, well, what's the format someone would have done if this tuner wasn't standard, which a lot of 450s tuners will put in after the fact. So that's just a fact, by the way. Anyway, this one's going to come with it's got books, and it's got well, I don't think the mic's hardly ever been used. It's crazy. It's like new. So yeah, I don't know what the story is with this radio. As I said, it came down with a bundle that really drove me mental and nearly went insane over how much of it didn't work. It was just one of those deals where you went, okay, I got burnt pretty bad on that one, but anyway, it doesn't matter. We've had a lot of good deals too, so, and one thing I do with health and everything, the way things are going, the last thing I care about is the money side of it these days. I just couldn't care less. It's not an issue, but I was expecting it to be more than that. The other thing about 450s too, by the way, look, displays are good on them, no problems, but one of the things you'll find videos talk about is that you can lose, see how as you go up there, you start to lose a bit of focus on and when you go down. So a few degrees off 90 degrees and sort of is fine, but when you get really on the angle, yes, you will need to sort of and because I'm at my desk here and I'm very close to the radio, normally I'd be sitting back, so I've just popped it up just for the minute just to get a good video of it. But as you can see, there's a fair bit of tolerance on it, but yeah, just something that I suppose they were OLED. I'm trying to remember now what they did with these, this is they weren't displays that were getting into trouble or anything. They were like that from new. I remember these things, and yeah, they were a sort of display where you mounted them and you kind of had to think about where they were. But look, I'd never found it a problem, but it's worth mentioning just for those that may have eyesight issues, etc., etc. But anyway, all right, well, we'll put this one up soon, and we've got a lot of other stuff we've got to get out. I've just coming back from about 5 days off, being very, very ill. But believe it or not, it wasn't the heart this time. I actually had an infection from a tooth that we didn't think was as bad, but I was on 3 rounds of antibiotics, which was supposed to sort it, and then they realised that no, there was another tooth giving me trouble, and it was in big trouble. So Friday, that was looked at and sorted, and I'm just sort of recovering now from that. But anyway, yeah, just strange one. All right, 73s, thanks for having a look at this video, and we'll get this on VK Classifieds or Facebook or something very soon. But yeah, you know how to do it. Email brenton@posnav.com.au, BRENTON @posnav.com.au. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and don't forget the notify, because a lot of people are getting smart on buying their radios at the moment. They see it on the video first, they hear me say it's up for sale, bang, they're on my email. So they're often getting in before we get to actually put the adverts up. Sometimes I'm 12 hours away from putting an advert up, just a little bit behind the 8 ball on that. So yeah, feel free to message me, of course, but certainly hit the all the buttons on the YouTube thing to make it all happen. 73s, all the best. Thank you.